Now let's talk about boundaries. I know that's a buzzword, and I know a lot of people have a lot of different feelings about it, but they're very important when it comes to running a snuggle session successfully. Boundaries are the foundation of compassion. If you don't maintain boundaries, you will not be able to have compassion because you will feel taken advantage of and exhausted by having your boundaries constantly crossed. So you need to know your boundaries and have a plan for enforcing them. So know what's okay and what's not okay for you and be able to state it. Know how you're going to navigate an issue when it comes up and be able to do so authentically with a client. And know how to politely end a session to be able to say, hey, this session is gone awry and we need to end it. Also, have a plan when you need to terminate a client and no longer accept sessions with that client. A really big part of boundaries in snuggling is physical boundaries because that's the world we work in. Being able to communicate what's okay and isn't okay with your body is important. Also, respecting what the client asks for themselves. And know that it's okay that something was okay in a previous session, but that it's not in a later session. That's okay for both you and the client to do. To say, that's not something I want to do today. Speaking up, even if you think it's silly, is really important. When you're snuggling, there's a lot of pressure on your body sometimes, and you can get a dead arm. And it's okay to say, hey, my arm fell asleep, or my arm's falling asleep. Can we switch positions? It helps your client to feel safe and be able to speak up for themselves when they feel uncomfortable. Also, arousal is a natural reaction. Also, arousal is a natural reaction to touch, and it should not be shamed. Again, I repeat, it should not be shamed, but it does need to be addressed. If there's arousal, it's important to put physical space between you and the client. When this happens for me, I move away, but I don't fully disconnect because when we cut off all touch suddenly, it's very jarring. So instead, I'll keep a hand in a nice platonic location, like a shoulder, so that the client knows that I'm still connected with them and that this is a conversation and this is not about shaming a client for having a natural response. Also, emotions come up a lot during snuggle sessions, so emotional boundaries are really important to have. Know exactly what you will share and won't share with a client. If you feel like a client is troubling during a session, be prepared for how you will respond if they're struggling with emotions that you cannot deal with. If a client gets angry or is feeling an severe sadness or depression, know how you're going to respond and what resources you have available to you so that you can be safe and keep your client safe. Also, if your client has needs that are beyond what Snuggle Buddies provides, have a plan to refer your client to another professional. Professional boundaries. Now, you need to remember always what's included and what's not included in a snuggle service. Be prepared to say no to any requests that are outside of the service. If a client asks to kiss you, the answer is always no, because that is not part of what we do. And be prepared to refer to a client for other services that are not in our purview. If they want a full body massage, you are not a massage therapist nor licensed to do that. You do not have to give them a massage. You are allowed to say, that's not part of what I do. If you need a therapeutic massage, I would refer you to this person. However, I can give you a little neck rub or foot rub or whatever you're comfortable with offering in lieu. For social boundaries, whether you consider your clients friends or not, they are not part of your social circles outside of work. They might perceive you in a way that they think, well, we can hang out after a session, and then they can get free cuddles out of you or get other benefits out of you that are not within our services. And that's not something that we ever practice, because when we cross that boundary, it makes it very difficult to maintain the integrity of what we do and our company. So, again, I say they are not part of your social circles outside of work. You do not hang out with clients, you don't go on dates with them, and you definitely don't give them free cuddles outside of the session, because lots of people will think they can get that from you for free. But be firm. You are a professional and you offer a valid service, and you should be paid for it. When arranging with your clients sessions, you can text or do phone calls, but keep it to appointment scheduling and session follow-up only. If you have a social media account, have boundaries with what you will discuss on that page and what requires someone to book a session with you. If they ask you a question that you can answer there that is about the service, go ahead and do that. But if they are looking to get free service, know when to say, that's something I cover in a session. Here's where you can book one. Now, we can have all of the plans and procedures in place that we can possibly think of, and there will still be situations that come up that we are not prepared fully for. So one of those things is sometimes we won't even know that we have a boundary until it's been crossed. So when that happens, it's important to stay calm. Be clear with your client, because clear is kind. Talk about it. Remember what I said in the last video, that anything that's mentionable is manageable, and snuggling is about learning about ourselves. So if we're learning our boundaries and expressing that to help clients be clear. Clear is kind. And also talk about it. Remember what I've said before. Anything that's mentionable is manageable. And snuggling is about learning about ourselves. So learning our boundaries and expressing those boundaries to our clients will also help our clients feel safe to do the same. And what's most important to remember is that if we don't follow through after a boundary has been crossed, it's the same as not having a boundary at all. Clients will have issues as well. So when those come up, we need to be proactive and help our clients to feel like they're being considered and that their perspective is valid to us, so they feel taken care of. You know, something I think about is I can be looking at a client and think, dang, that position looks a little uncomfortable, like your neck is kind of in an awkward pose. So I'll just bring it up and say, your neck looks uncomfortable. Is it all right if we adjust the pose? Notice when your clients have tension and address it, whether that's physically or talking about it. And pay attention to changes in energy. When we note those changes in energy, when we note those changes and pay attention to energy. When we note those changes in energy, we can help redirect them and keep the energy where we dictate. Again, remember, you're the lead in this dance. And there's a lot of ethics that go into snuggling. The biggest one is consent. We need permission to touch and engage with our clients always. And when we are seeking for that permission, we are always looking for that enthusiastic yes. If you do not have an enthusiastic yes from your client, that's time to redirect and try something different. Remember what you do. You are not there for any type of sexual gratification. We don't work in the industry of fetishes, and we don't go outside of what is included in our service. If a client goes there, terminate the session. It's always easier to come back and talk to a client after the moment's passed and talk about strategies for future sessions so that doesn't happen again. But in the moment, it can be really difficult to navigate. So my recommendation is always to end a session when it gets to that point. Discussion is important with your clients because we don't want them to feel shame, but clear boundaries and enforcements create safety and professionalism. Also, from a moral and legal standpoint, we need to remember what we are licensed to do and what we are not licensed to do. We are not therapists. We cannot do licensed counseling. We do not do massage. And we need to know when to refer clients. Also, just like a licensed counselor and a massage therapist, something that is really important to our service is client confidentiality. We never talk about our clients with other people, including other snuggleists. All of this is to say that if you want to be there for your client, if you want to help them feel the power of touch, if you want to hold continuous compassion for your client, you have to set boundaries.